Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Sparks and I finally got around to it. This is the custom crafting expansion pack tutorial showing you how to use the 1.9 custom crafter to create your own crafters and recipes. So this is going to be quite a technical video. I'm going to explain some of what's going on so you can understand what's happening, and we will go through the creation of a simple recipe pack in the video as well. So what I have here is I have the actual custom crafter, which is a module, and we have two types of module that are using the custom crafter. We have the master crafter. This is considered to be an expansion module because it adds other things to the game, i.e. a master crafter, but it still relies on the custom crafter to function. Other examples of Reliant modules are compressors, which also use the custom crafter, or the towers module, which requires the custom terrain. So those are our expansion modules. This is over here is the standard crafting pack. Now this is an expansion module. It doesn't add anything new specifically to the game. All it does is expand on the functionality of a base module like this one here. So they behave very, very similarly. The only difference is that this one here has the ability to add its own crafter to the game. So it has a couple of other responsibilities. So the custom crafter has several stages to what it does, and I'm going to go through what each of these modules are responsible for doing in this setup. So the master crafter, the main module, is responsible firstly for timing. So there is a clock here which is bouncing up and down, and every time this redstone block lands, it powers all of these command blocks here to do their thing. It adds objectives. Specifically, the GM4 crafting objective is used, and it also deals with the creation and destruction of the base crafter. So it is looking for the correct recipe inside a dropper with a crafting table on top to create the custom crafter. It also handles the destruction of specifically just custom crafters. So the only kind of crafter that it will break is a custom crafter, not a master crafter, not a compressor. No other type of module will be broken by this system. This is so that you can have different things dropped by different modules when the crafter is broken. Something else it does is it tells crafters whether they're empty or not. So over here we can see that there is a tag. So it's testing for all custom crafters with no items inside, and if it finds one of those, or any one that it does find, gets given this tag, GM4 is empty. We can use this to make sure that we don't do recipe checks needlessly on custom crafters which are empty, which saves quite a bit on lag. It also lets other modules know when a crafter is broken. So over here, it's checking for an air block at the location of the custom crafter ArmorStand hidden inside the custom crafter. If it finds it, it gives it a GM4 broken tag. Now the way that it knows how to only break itself is it looks for custom crafters with the broken tag that have a crafting table on the head of the armor stand. Alright, so here we have a regular custom crafter. Now this is the armor stand inside this has a crafting table on its head. That's what creates this little block on the top. So it's specifically looking for custom crafters that have air at their location, i.e. have a GM4 broken tag of 1 and have a crafting table on their head, and it'll only kill them if that's happened. So that's what the base module is responsible for. Oh, the other very important thing is it applies a stat command to all custom crafters. So this scoreboard we added over here, the GM4 crafting stat, is used to measure things about custom crafters. And now that stats is something not very well understood by a lot of people. So I'm going to try and explain how it works here so you understand what is happening in these modules. So one very important thing to know. Okay, so basically what a stat command is the result of an action. It tells you what has happened to an entity or a block when you do something with it. So specifically we are testing for the success count of the custom crafter, and whatever the success count, i.e. How well it is done at the thing that you've told it to do, is stored on a scoreboard. So this is the command here. So we are telling it to store an entity stat for any custom crafter, and we're setting its success count, which is how well it succeeded or failed, and we are setting it to the closest entity to itself, so i.e. itself, and we're setting it to the crafting scoreboard. It's quite difficult to explain how this works. So once we apply this, if we do something to this custom crafter, for example, we check whether there's a dropper here. If we do a test for block and we find a dropper, and it does find a dropper, it'll set its success count score on the crafting sidebar to 1, because it succeeded in finding it. And 1 stands for success. It succeeded 1 times. If there was air there, or if there wasn't a dropper there, and it was testing for a dropper, then it would set its crafting score to 0 because it failed. There are instances where that number can be higher than 1. For example, if we asked the custom crafter to test for @A, and we were looking for all players online, if there were 3 players online, its success count score on the scoreboard would be set to 3. So we can use this to execute a command off of it and then see how well that command did, whether it succeeded or not. And we use that a lot for the recipe creation on this thing. Very importantly, and this is something that screwed me over several times and a lot of people make the mistake on, is the success count will, and this is really stupid, I don't know why they've done this, the success count will only be set to a scoreboard if the entity is already on the scoreboard. So this command block right here is just setting the score, the crafting score of all custom crafters to 0. So when you first create it, it will set it to 0 just so it's on the sidebar on the scoreboard, because otherwise this won't work until it's given a score. Very strange, but that's how it works. So we can see this as an example over here where we're creating the custom crafter. So here we are executing, oh, hang on. Let me go with breaking normal custom crafters instead. So here we're executing on all ArmorStands with a broken tag to test for an entity with a crafting table on its head. So this is a command, and all it's doing is testing for that entity, which is basically itself. So if this was done on this ArmorStand here, it would find itself with a custom crafter on its head, and because it succeeded in this test for check, it will set its crafting score to 1. Now what we do here is we execute on all ArmorStands with the name of custom crafter, specifically with a GM4 crafting score of 1 or more. So this lets us know whether the previous command succeeded. So if it tried to find an entity with a crafting table on its head right next to itself and it failed, it would have a score of 0 by the time it reaches this command block, which means this command block will fail because it's looking for anything with a crafting score of 1 or more. So we can use this very easily to track the success of individual crafting tables in the world. Which leaves us with what we're trying to create today, which are expansion modules and Reliant modules. So over here we have an expansion module, the standard crafting pack, which simply adds recipes to the regular custom crafter. So what this does, what it's responsible for, is checking for crafters of its type that aren't empty. So it's looking for regular custom crafters that aren't empty, and it checks for recipes and creates recipe results for custom crafters. So that's what it's responsible for. It's not responsible for killing custom crafters because it is expansion only. So if you wanted to make an expansion pack for master crafters, it would not be responsible for destroying the master crafter. However, this master crafter is a Reliant module which creates its own crafter. So this is responsible for checking for crafters of its type that aren't empty, checking for recipes and creating the recipe results, and creating and destroying its own crafter. So that's the only real difference between the two. So you can see that we have this pink command block here. Everything beyond this point is recipes, and that follows the format of checking for the recipe, and if it finds the recipe, replacing it with a result, and that just repeats all the way through. Everything before this point is checking for basically checking for crafters of its type that aren't empty. And over here you can see that there's a few more command blocks before this pink, because as well as checking for crafters that are of its type and not empty, it's also preparing to create or break crafters. So for creating a crafter, what it's doing is it's checking for the recipe result. It's then replacing the custom crafter. I think I should go into more detail here, which I think we'll do as we build this for real. So I'll just skim over it for now. So first of all, it creates its crafter. It's also here, it's detecting broken master crafters. So you can see that it's checking ArmorStands with a broken tag and testing to see whether they have a piston on their head, because master crafters have a piston on their head. And if it successfully finds one, it will break it. And finally, it's checking for items inside specifically a master crafter. And if it succeeds, and all of these checks succeed, then everything past this point will be powered. Now this is a technique that I've developed for 1.9 to reduce the lag, because custom crafters are unfortunately quite a laggy module when you have a lot of custom crafters in the world and a lot of recipes that can go in them. So this way, instead of all of these recipes constantly being checked against every crafter, we are only executing all of these command blocks right here constantly, which is checking for items inside. Everything beyond this point only happens if the conditions are met, i.e. a custom crafter has an item in it. But the great thing about this is that if a custom crafter has an item in it, everything beyond this point on the master crafter still won't run, because the master crafter is only going to run if there are items inside a master crafter. So we can really cut down on the lag using this. Alright, so let's get started making our very own expansion pack. So we're going to create a custom crafter, a specific expansion crafter, and we're also going to add some recipes to it, so we can see the entire process here. The first thing you need to do is create a connection between your expansion pack or your Reliant module and the crafter itself. The way this works is that it will have its timings run off this. This is to make sure all the recipe checks are done at the right moment to avoid messing up any sort of stats checks. You can see that all of these have ArmorStands inside the beginning, and they are being told periodically by the base module to run their checks. So all you need for this is an ArmorStand, and the only requirement for this ArmorStand is that it has a CCC tag. So a tag is a special piece of information attached to an entity. Any CCC entity in the world that is an ArmorStand will periodically affect the block that it is placed inside. So I've added a no gravity tag. I recommend this. This means that if the block that the ArmorStand is standing in or on is broken, it won't fall down. I've also, for the sake of example, given it custom name visible. I won't recommend this for your actual pack. And I've given it a name of any name, just to show that it can have any name you like. Now I'm going to put all of these commands in a paste bin linked in the video description, so you should be able to use that to copy and paste and modify these commands. So if we summon this ArmorStand, you'll see that hi is being printed constantly in the chat here, and that's because we have a say, sorry, not hi, 1. We have a say 1 in this command block here. So what's happening here is that the base module over here is signaling all Reliant modules. So it's executing on all entities with a tag of CCC to block data, the block that they're in, to have an auto score of 1. An auto command block will constantly trigger the command inside. So what's happening is this ArmorStand here is setting the auto score of this command block to 1, which is the same as me clicking always active here. But the command inside is setting the auto score back to 0, which is the equivalent of me clicking this and setting it back to needs redstone. And this basically creates a pulse. So every time this happens, any commands attached to it will trigger. So you can see that every now and again, it's printing out a message. Alright, so we're now going to create the ability to build a custom crafter, a specific type of custom crafter. You can skip this part of the video if you just want to add recipes to an existing crafter, or if your module doesn't require its own crafter. So to create a crafter, we're going to copy this command from the master crafter pack. We're going to get this first part, execute at all with a custom crafter, test for block, dropper, and then inside here, we're checking for a custom name of custom crafter, and then we have an item tag, and the item tag is where our recipe for upgrading our crafter goes. So I'm actually going to just copy everything up to here and paste it into our check here, like so. And that's all we're going to do. Now to create our recipe, I find the easiest way to do this is to place down a command block, to put down a dropper, oops, put down our dropper, and put our recipe inside. So for our upgrade of our crafter, very simply, we're just going to put a redstone dust in the middle here. Make it nice and easy, but you can put any recipe you like in here. And what we're going to do now is we are going to put a command in here. We're going to go block data, like so, like so. What this is going to do is it's going to try and change the data of this dropper, but it's actually not going to change anything. This is the bit which says what to change. What it's going to do is when we power this command block, I'm putting the button here so it doesn't spit the dust out, it's going to say the data tag did not change, and then it's going to give us all of the information about this module. So we can actually go all the way to the end of this items slot. You can actually press end on your keyboard while holding shift to select everything back. And then we're going to the end of this square bracket here. Now we're going to copy this, and we're going to put it into our recipe check here, right after the comma from our name, like so. And then we need to close the bracket right here. So there's actually quite a lot of there's a few things in here that we don't actually need. Now you'll notice that all of these values have a type at the end. So these are different kinds of tags which tell Minecraft what sort of variable this is. Now when we are testing for something, we need these, but we won't need them if we are creating. So we're going to leave those there for now, but just to save on characters a little bit, you can actually get rid of the speech marks around Minecraft Redstone, just to save a little bit of space. There's not much else we can change. What we can do is get rid of the 0 in front of this. Now if we had 2 items, there would be a second set of curly brackets. There'd be a comma here, there'd be a 1, and then there'd be another set of curly brackets. And after that there'd be a comma and a 2, another set of curly brackets. And we can get rid of all of these numbers to save a bit of space. But in this case we only have the 1 redstone dust. So this is constantly checking at all custom crafters to see whether they have a piece of redstone dust inside them. So if we put a piece of redstone dust in here, like so, then this will now be returning true, which means that it's giving a success count of 1 to the ArmorStand. So we can see this really easily by saying say at E score GM4 crafting min equals 1. So right now it's saying GM4 custom crafter because it's finding this recipe. If we take the redstone dust out, you can see that it stopped printing its message. We can put this dust anywhere else, it won't work. But as soon as we have the right recipe, it's going to start printing in the chat again, which lets us know that we have successfully detected a crafter with this recipe. So the next thing we need to do is we need to actually change our crafter into something new. So we're going to copy this again from here and just paste it in here. Now you'll notice that this command block was conditional, so you need to tick this box here to say conditional. We only want it to run if the previous command block succeeds. We're going to execute on all ArmorStands that are custom crafters with a score crafting of at least 1, which we discussed means that it successfully found itself. We're going to block data, and we're going to change the block that it's sitting in, i.e. the dropper. This bit here clears all of the items out of the dropper, meaning that there's no recipe left inside, and we're going to change its custom name to Master Craftsman's Bench, but we're going to change this to My Crafter. You can put whatever you like here. You actually don't need speech marks unless you're using apostrophes or speech marks. I think in the name I'd avoid doing that anyway. Master Craftsman's Bench has apostrophes in it, but generally safer to just use regular characters and spaces. So this is our My Crafter. So we should find, if we go down here, that putting this redstone dust in here would change its name to My Crafter. We're not going to do that quite yet because there's a few more things to do. We've got another conditional command block here, and this is changing the block on the head of the ArmorStand. So we can copy this again. You can get it from the paste bin below. I'm going to add another command block here, set it to conditional, paste this in. We're going to get rid of the pose. This is something that only the Master Crafter does, which is basically changing the orientation of the block on its head. So we're going to get rid of that. Now we are going to basically be entity dataing this ArmorStand's head slot. So entity data at E, type equals ArmorStand, name equals custom crafter, score GM for crafting, min equals 1, radius equals 0, meaning that it's the closest entity. And our armor items here, we're going to change it. We're going to have a cobblestone. Let's make it a redstone block. Redstone underscore block. in the head slot. There we go. And I believe there's one more part to this, which is playing the sound. 1.9 actually sucks with play sounds and fails in multiplayer situations. So you can use this if you like. I will include it in the description, but I'm going to leave it out personally. So what we have here is the ability to create a new kind of custom crafter. So when we place this dust in here, we should find that the block on its head changes. I forgot that we were supposed to remove this thing here, this small 0B, sorry about that. That's causing it to become larger, and you can see it's kind of mislaid our crafter, but you can see the name has changed to my crafter and the recipe was removed. If I try to break this, nothing will happen because it's no longer recognized as a regular crafter, and we haven't set up our kill command yet for it. I'm just going to kill it using a small radius kill here, just to get rid of that one armor stand, and we're just going to quickly make a new crafter. So now we've gotten rid of that small tag, we should be able to put this in here and see it actually upgrading properly. Perfect. So the next section is checking for broken my crafters. So we can copy this again. We're going to copy this here, and we can see by putting this down. Was that a conditional command block? No, it wasn't. Okay. Oop. I'm going to paste this in here. So you can see we're executing on all armor stands with a broken tag, which is added by the base module, and we're testing to see whether that armor stand has got a redstone block on its head. So if we find a broken tagged armor stand with a redstone block on its head, then we know we have a broken armor stand to deal with. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make it drop these items that it's made of. So in this case, this is really clever, by the way, or I think it is. You can see that with a single command we can actually summon a ton of items. Now the way this works is very similar to how one-clicks work actually. So what we're doing is we're summoning an item, we're summoning a redstone dust item, and then we're using the passengers tag to just stack an extra ton of items on top. So we can actually go ahead and copy this here, and we're going to make our crafter drop all of the items that a regular crafter does plus an extra piece of redstone dust because we used that in our recipe, right? So I'm going to copy all of this here because that's still fine. It's got a crafting score of 1, and then we're going to copy our summon item command from the regular crafter. I keep forgetting to add a new command block. There we go. We're going to go over here and copy this, which will also be in the description. You'll notice I have an extra information on the crafting table to say it's slightly damaged. So we're going to stick that on the end here, and we're going to change our redstone dust to drop another piece of dust. Cobblestone, count 7. Crafting table, count 1. Where's our dust? Oh, the redstone itself is the one it's riding on, that's right. So we're actually just going to change this to have a count of 2. If we wanted to add a new item, you can see the format here. So it's a comma separated list. So we could put another item here, like so. And we would sort of go ID item. So that's the type of entity. And then item is the actual item it is. So we have another square, another set of curly brackets. ID and then the type of item, which let's just add for the sake of it, stone. And then the count is required, even if you only want 1. Otherwise it'll default to 0 and you won't be able to pick it up. Now you'll notice that now that we're creating entities, we don't need the selector at the end. We don't need the B for the count type. We can just put 1, and this can save you a little bit on characters. So that should be everything we need. Actually, finally, we need to kill the custom crafter so it's not left behind. So we can put this here, and you can see that we're executing on all armor stands with a crafting score of 1 and killing it, because this will only happen if the summoning of these items succeeded, and the items will only be summoned if checking for the redstone block succeeded, and that will only happen if it's found to be broken. So if we go over here and punch this now, it should drop 2 redstone dust, 7 cobble, a slightly damaged workbench, and 1 stone. So we've got 2 of those. The 7 cobble, I believe, are in here. Slightly damaged workbench, and 1 piece of stone. So that's working perfectly. One more thing to mention, which I didn't mention earlier in the video, is that all 3 of the breaking ones have to have tag equals gm4 broken in them. That you will find that in the paste bin, of course, but just in case you were copying it from the video, I was missing those. So they have to have the tag equals broken thing, otherwise it will break the moment that you craft it. Alright, so next up, this part is required for both expansion packs and Reliant modules, which is checking to see whether the crafter you're trying to target has items in it. So previously in the video we looked at creating and breaking crafters, but if you just want to add recipes to an existing crafter, this is where you'll be joining us. So we're going to check for items inside a master crafter. We're going to change that to the my crafter that we built earlier in the video. So we're going to copy this, which you'll find in the paste bin, and paste it in here. So we're executing on name equals custom crafter, test for block dropper, custom name, and then this is the name of your crafter, which I believe we called my crafter. We can go and check that over here. We built this earlier, my crafter, perfect. So we are checking for a dropper with that name. And if we find that, it'll give it a success count of 1. And everything else will have a success count of 0. So now we have only my crafters in the world with a score of 1. So once we've done that, we're going to set anything with a my crafter score of 0, i.e. not a my crafter, to have a score of 2. So this basically excludes it. So we know that anything at this point with a crafting score of 2 is not a my crafter, it's a different kind of crafter. So we can actually leave that the same as it was before. And next up, we're going to check to see whether that crafter, so a crafter with a score of 1, which we know has to be a my crafter, that doesn't have an empty tag. So that's this one here. We're testing for that. And if it finds any crafter that meets those criteria, i.e. is a my crafter and is not empty, then we are going to conditionally block data auto 1b. So we're going to make this a conditional command block, and then we put a regular crafter, block right here. So you can see that this contains a command that sets its auto back to 0. This is very similar to what we did over here, except that a different block is attracting it. So only if our crafter of the correct type, i.e. Minecrafter, not Minecrafter, has items in it, i.e. not is empty, there's a little exclamation mark there, then it will set this to send a pulse. So say 1, you can see it's currently not saying 1. As soon as we put an item into our Minecrafter here, boop, it will say 1, which means it's now going to be checking to see whether there are recipes inside. You can see over here I've put a regular crafter. If we put items inside here, it's not going to check it. Nothing past that point is currently being activated because there are no Minecrafters with items inside. Only when we put something in here will it start running. Pretty neat, right? And that's it for the complicated stuff. The rest is just repetitive recipe adding. So let's create a recipe for our crafter. We're going to turn 1 redstone block into 9 redstone dust. Very simple stuff. So we can go back over to our setup here and actually use this to get our information. So we're going to get 1 redstone block. We're going to put it in here and push this button, and that's going to give us all the information about this dropper, which contains our recipe. So we can actually go over here and copy our recipe template. So we are going to what? Oh, okay, I slightly mislabeled this. GM4R is something you can do if you wish to specifically only target ArmorStands in a radius. So this is tagging all custom crafters. We're removing the R tag, so we're getting rid of the radius check. And then if the custom crafter has a player within 5 blocks, we re-add that R tag. So in our recipe checks, if you wanted to make it a radius-based thing, so it only runs its recipes if there's a player nearby, which can reduce lag, then you will want to have the tag GM4R in here and in the recipe result. So you will actually need to make sure that you have tag equals GM4 R here as well. There is a slight mistake where I haven't done that in this recipe pack, and I will be updating it in the future. It has to be in the check and the result, otherwise you're going to find items appearing in crafters that don't need them. However, if you wanted to just constantly check for its recipes, then just ignore the R check and get on with the recipes. So we are going to copy this, execute at all, type as ArmorStand, name equals custom crafter, test for block, Minecraft dropper, custom name, mastercrafter's bench, items tag there. So we're going to copy all of that, and we're going to paste it in here. We're changing the name of the crafter to my crafter, and then the items tag goes here. We've got that over here, which we can grab. That's everything from this square bracket here to items, like so. So this is going to go into here, and we need to close the curly bracket on the other side. Now there's a lot of information here that we can get rid of. Because we are checking the contents of the dropper, we don't need the damage tags, so I can get rid of the S here, I can get rid of the B here, I can get rid of the speech marks around this, and the Minecraft colon, but only do this if you are checking, if you are, oh hang on, no, I tell a lie, ignore me. That is something that you can only do if you are creating or modifying, not when you're testing. So right now we're checking for this recipe, so we do in fact need to keep that information in. However, redstone block only has one damage value, so we can actually exclude the damage check because we don't care what the damage is, and we can still get rid of the speech marks around here. I hope that wasn't too confusing, I'm sorry. We do still need the slot number, but we can get rid of that again. So that should be everything we need. So that's checking for the recipe, and then the recipe result, we can set that up. We're going to actually just put them like this. You could just put 9 in the center, but just for the case of example here, I'm going to do this. We're going to copy again all of this item tag, like so. And we're going to paste it into our recipe result check. Close the curly bracket, and we need to get the sample result from over here, which is executing on all custom crafters. This is the test. Hang on. Here's our result. Execute, type equals ArmorStand, name equals custom crafter, score crafting min equals 1, i.e. found the recipe earlier, block data, and then that's what we copy. So we're going to paste that in here at the start, and there's a lot we can get rid of here. So we can get rid of the prefixes to all of these tags. We can get rid of these of the tag types for all of this. We can get rid of the speech marks, get rid of the Minecraft colon. I would make a copy of this before you edit this, because it's easy to accidentally delete something you're not supposed to and then find that things are gone. So again, redstone dust, there's only one kind of redstone dust, there's no extra damages, so we can actually get rid of the damage tag entirely. Again, we can get rid of this one, slot 1b, ID, we can get rid of the speech marks around this, and the Minecraft colon, make sure that you delete the other speech marks, etc, etc, get rid of the damage. So you can really cut down on your characters, which is helpful when you have very large recipe packs. So I'm just going to finish tidying this up. Okay, so that's all tidied up now. We've got our recipe and our result. Let's try it out. So we're going to go and put a redstone block in the center of this, and there we go. We have our 9 redstone dust. Fantastic. I apparently duplicated that somehow because Minecraft is strange, and we appear to have a bug. Now that bug was caused by me having a say 1 at the start here. Oops. Also, I've got the tag GM4R in that one, but I don't have it in here. That is also causing that bug, I believe. So I want to make sure that I either put GM4R in the other one or I remove it from here. They either both need it or neither of them need it. So that happened. I'd also turned this crafter over here into a MyCrafter. So you've got to be really careful with these recipes to make sure that they work correctly. Now we should find, oops, that's not the recipe. We should find that it's working okay. Yes, that's good. So that was caused partially by me putting say1 at the beginning of this, and partially because I had GM4R in this one but not this one. So be aware of that as a potential danger. Now the next recipe would simply go right here after the next one. Be aware that the Gamemode 4 standard calls for a turnaround at 16 blocks. So from here, from this block here to the end is 16 blocks. After that it needs to turn around, head back, and then it will spiral up and continue spiraling upwards clockwise. So if you're making a long module, you might want to bear that in mind just to keep things neat and tidy. So I think that's everything. The recipe creation for 1.9 is more complicated than 1.8, but as a result we have a much more refined system which will reduce a lot of lag for users, and I would highly recommend especially putting your recipe checks after this, because it really reduces the checks that these crafters have to do throughout the game. So hopefully this was helpful. If you have issues, post them in the video chat in the comments. I will try to help. You need to learn how to bug test these things. I get a lot of people saying my recipe check isn't working, and they are missing a bracket, or they are they've accidentally deleted something or a comma. So you need to learn how to look at these commands. Now if it's not working and you're getting a message here saying failed to execute test for block, that's because you don't have that recipe in a dropper somewhere. So this is not an error message, this is just saying that it didn't find any ArmorStands that matched the criteria at that moment. So just because you see that doesn't, sending me this in the chat will not really help me fix your problem. That's not an actual issue, if that makes sense, or not always. So hopefully that's helpful. If you are good at this stuff, feel free to help each other in the chat as well. And that should be everything for today. I will see you next time. Bye bye.